Hello again. Welcome to this new series where I list my favorite films or books from a certain era or that talk about a specific subject matter. So now, let's get into it. When Worlds Collide tells the story of a group of scientists working their hardest to give humanity a surviving chance to escape Earth, which is on a collision course with an oncoming new planet. As they start building an ark that can only carry a handful of people, they must overcome several obstacles while the end of the world gets closer with each passing day. The interesting aspect of this film is not only its entertaining value as a disaster movie, with decent special effects and a fast-paced direction. When Worlds Collide makes great use of its premise to showcase some interesting dilemmas like, in a situation like this one, who gets to be saved? How would society react to this news? And how would an event, like this one, affect each person psychologically? Similar to the premise presented by Don't Look Up, except, without all the politics. Or Melancholia, but without all the depression. The Black Scorpion would be your average creature feature from the 50s. An animal or insect you already know, except it's huge and it eats humans. But what really elevates this monster film for me is the craft shown in front and behind the camera. The effects used for the scorpion are really well done. This shouldn't come as a surprise, as they were created by Pete Peterson, who, along with Ray Harryhausen, took Hollywood by storm with their stop-motion abilities. And this film is a clear example of Peterson's talent. The movie is also set in Mexico, giving it a refreshing change of scenery from the usual setting in many other American films of that age. And as a Mexican myself, I do find a peculiar pleasure in watching my city being attacked by a giant arachnid. That would actually be better than our current situation. With several action set pieces and a pretty entertaining story, if you like creature features, you should give The Black Scorpion a try. If I'd watched this movie as a kid, it would have probably given me nightmares.
Oh.
Hey, are you okay? Based on the H.G. Wells classic, The War of the Worlds trades the Victorian-era England setting for California in the 50s, where a violent alien invasion begins. These attackers have superior military technology, and it is up to a group of people to find a way to stop them before the human race is wiped out. This film is now considered a classic, and although it is light on story, it compensates with iconic visuals. Shot in glorious Technicolor, the movie is actually pretty colorful and beautiful to look at, unlike many modern blockbusters with similar settings who seemingly use a jar of piss as a filter. As a product of its time, this adaptation was inspired by the atmosphere set by the beginning of the Cold War and the use of weapons of mass destruction, instead of focusing on the colonialist themes found in the original 19th century novel, causing it to come out feeling more like a Hollywood blockbuster that is still pretty entertaining. It is 1964. A third world war has destroyed most of the northern hemisphere, and the few survivors left in the remaining pockets of civilization know that nuclear fallout will eventually get them. All they can do is wait for their guaranteed demise. That is, until a mysterious Morse code signal prompts several members of an Australian community to go investigate on their submarine. This is the premise of On the Beach. This film almost doesn't feel like science fiction, as it chooses to focus on the human relationships between the last survivors of the apocalypse. It successfully raises very important questions regarding mortality and humanity's power for self-destruction, as it asks, if the world was ending soon, how would you spend your last days? Even though the film sometimes looks like a romantic comedy, don't be fooled into thinking this is not a dark story, which is only held back by a very slow pace and a long runtime. Ultimately, On the Beach is a powerful portrait of hope and acceptance, brought to a close with an unforgettable ending. Ah yes, another film about a giant something, and this time it is a tarantula that terrorizes a small Arizona town, thanks to some scientific protein mumbo-jumbo. There are several aspects that help set this film apart, The first one is that it was directed by Jack Arnold, famous for having helped The Creature from the Black Lagoon and The Incredible Shrinking Man. Arnold smartly chooses to balance the story between the terror caused by the giant monster and the relationship between the two main characters, effectively making us really care for them and hope they don't get eaten by the end of the movie. The second aspect is the witty dialogue written by Robert M. Fresco and Martin Berkeley. The line exchange between the main characters feels too good to be taking place in a monster feature.
What does it look like?
Oh, like something from another life. Serene, quiet, yet strangely evil, as if it were hiding its secret from man.
You make it sound so creepy.
The unknown always is.
And lastly, the tarantula itself. The detailed use of miniatures and superimposed images managed to give the titular creature a menacing presence, although it is easy to chuckle with the spider's close-ups as its face is totally unrealistic, but still, a great achievement for the special effects of that era. About this film, Jack Arnold said, "We decided to do this film because, generally, people are very afraid of spiders. Sometimes, simple is better." Based on the already excellent novel by Jack Finney, Invasion of the Body Snatchers tells the story of Miles Bennell, a man that discovers his town is being secretly invaded by pod people, an alien lifeform that has the ability to look identical to the humans it's gradually replacing. Partly inspired by the mass hysteria of the 50s, the film tackles themes of paranoia and conformity, infusing the movie with a sense of horror and dread. Who can you trust when the enemy can look exactly like your loved ones? Expertly crafted by Don Siegel's direction and tense atmosphere, Invasion of the Body Snatchers is an original take on the alien invasion premise that has maintained its relevance many decades later. It comes as no surprise that it has turned into a classic of the genre. Let's forget about giant insects or humanoid monsters, for now. Forbidden Planet follows the crew of a spaceship that is investigating the fate of a previous expedition in the distant planet Altair. Here, they'll discover that the planet hides many secrets, some of them extremely dangerous. Nowadays, a film like this one is considered your usual blockbuster, but in the 50s, movies like this were a total cinematic event. Shot in bright colors and surrounded by amazing special effects and production design, this movie is not only stunning to look at, but also pretty damn entertaining. As the mysteries of the planet unfold, one can't help but be amazed by everything Forbidden Planet has to offer. The characters are charismatic, the visuals are astonishing, and it is also responsible for introducing one of fiction's most famous automatons, Robbie the Robot.
For your convenience, I am monitored to respond to the name Robbie.
Them follows a group of people as they try to stop the invasion of an army of giant irradiated ants, one of the first films from the 50s featuring a monster caused by radiation. It not only inspired so many others to follow its giant steps, it set the precedent that any creature could be terrifying if the telling of its story was executed well enough. Unlike many other creature features, Them takes its time to reveal the titular monsters, focusing first on the destruction they are causing and the victims they've left behind. It is a great example of the value of not revealing your monster right away, helping the story achieve an unshakable sense of dread and expectation from the audience. And while it takes its sweet time to get to the monsters, when the action starts, it doesn't stop, as the film is full of action scenes and spectacle that make the wait totally worth it. And any film that reminds me of how I used to play with my toys when I was a little kid is okay in my book. An alien spaceship lands in the middle of Washington, D.C. From inside it steps out an extraterrestrial with a human-like appearance and his robot bodyguard. The alien has a message that will change humanity forever. This is The Day the Earth Stood Still. Considered one of the best science fiction films of the 50s, it has a little bit of everything. Action, drama, aliens, spaceships, and a giant unstoppable robot that has the ability to destroy the world. What really makes this film stand out is not the spectacle it showcases or its special effects. its real value lies in how it expertly handles its themes and the tense atmosphere that is maintained during the whole runtime. The Day the Earth Stood Still asks the audience a bold question. If it's in our nature, will we eventually destroy ourselves? And manages to answer it in a spectacular fashion.
You see, they don't have any wars.
Gee, that's a good idea.
It walks a fine line between the morality of the two sides, the humans who are just too afraid to listen to reason, and the aliens who are offering an ultimatum that could either save humanity or destroy it, shifting its perception of the universe. It is these shades of grey that helped this film become a true classic. And my favorite science fiction film of this decade is no other than... What better film to encompass a whole decade of nuclear fear and destruction than the original Godzilla? On this first appearance of the iconic monster, a fishing village starts getting terrorized by an unimaginable menace. The witnesses can barely believe what they've seen destroy their boats, and the authorities investigating won't accept the existence of such an unstoppable force that threatens all of Japan. Quickly on a side note, this movie has two very different versions, the original Japanese one and the American one, which was heavily recut and removed a lot of important stuff as well as added a new American character. If you're interested in watching this film, please make sure it's the Japanese cut, as it is by far the superior version. This movie is not only a reflection of the events that shaped the world during the 40s and 50s. It became iconic because it turned into a way for the Japanese to express feelings that were still very much alive regarding nuclear energy and its destructive power. Godzilla was a way for Japan to make sense of what had happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki a few years earlier. That's why, unlike other similar movies, Godzilla doesn't shy away from the aftermath of the destruction and mayhem caused by its titular character. The victims in this film don't get ignored. You can not only see the people dying in the chaos, but also the survivors that grieve the loss of their loved ones. It focuses on the humanity amidst all the death and misery, and that's why you get scenes like this one. This film doesn't hold anything back. It has no chill. The movie also tackles themes related to the moral dilemmas and implications of using weapons of mass destruction. What are the lines we have to cross when survival is the goal? This adds a whole new layer to the subtext of an already rich film. On a technical level, some of the effects weren't very good even for the standards of the era, and the creature can even come out as goofy looking at times, but none of this makes the film any less effective, as it is the human characters that keep us grounded in the horrors caused by this personification of nuclear power. The destruction, although entertaining, often doesn't feel real, but the characters do, and that's good enough. Almost 70 years later, having spanned the largest running film franchise in history, this first rendition of Godzilla still feels relevant, authentic, and truly emotional. It is a testament that horror and grief can come in many shapes and sizes, and is the strongest evidence that Godzilla really is the one and only king of the monsters. I hope you enjoyed this list, and expect it has caused enough curiosity in you to at least seek some of these films out. I am Curious Robin. Until we meet again.